Welcome to the Horror Unmasked podcast,
where we unmask the monsters
and explore the lore.
I'm Amber.
And I'm Lily, and today we will be dissecting
The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Let's set sail. Three men struggle to walk through the rain. As they come across the constable's door, they bang on it furiously. When he comes out, they bring him to a shipwreck, the shipwreck of the Demeter. They come across a man next to the wreck who is holding the captain's log. Inside is a warning about the Demeter, saying that evil is on board. Scary flashes of the shipwreck appear. Suddenly, there's a flash of a cane lying inside of a box of dirt, which pans out to show the box it is in, and a bunch of men carrying many boxes with wagons and horses.
The men arrive to the boat docks with the cargo. The ship is short on men, so the crew begin looking for more men to help with the Demeter voyage from Bulgaria to London. Many guys are lined up as a Dr. Clemens recommends himself for the voyage since he is a doctor and knows his way around a boat, but is rejected.
How was he rejected? I just don't understand.
It's
probably because he showed him up.
I don't care if it's a doctor. You accept a doctor.
You accept
asking.
a doctor. Especially if he says he knows his way around a boat. Please.
Exactly.
The men who brought the cargo refuse to help and say they need to leave before the sun goes down. The men wish the crew luck as they pack up and leave. The newly recruited men help load the ship with the boxes as one man sees a dragon symbol etched into the side of one box. He lets go of the rope holding the box up.
Underneath the box is a boy named Toby who doesn't notice the box. Luckily, Dr. Clemens does, and before it can fall on Toby, he saves him.
The man who dropped the box leaves the ship and says he never signed up for dragons and that the symbol is the devil's mark. Grateful for saving his grandson, the captain allows Clemens to come on board.
When the cargo is all loaded up, the crew leaves the docks and sets sail for London. Toby takes Clemens on a tour of the ship, giving note about a double knock on the ship to alert other crew members. Toby shows Clemens the livestock, the kitchen, and his living quarters.
Later that night on the ship, the captain speaks to his second, Vorchik, telling him that he plans to retire after this voyage and wants to pass the ship down to him. The captain wants to spend more time with his family and promised his daughter that he'd settle and not let the sea take him or his grandson.
Down where the crates are sitting, a box opens up and the rats scurry away. The men are upstairs enjoying a meal where it is revealed that the crew would get extra pay for delivering the cargo in a timely manner.
Get your bag.
Hell yeah.
The animals begin to freak out as Toby and Clemens go to check on them. They hear something in the cargo hold across the way, and when they check it out, they see one of the boxes has been knocked over. When they get closer, they discover a pile of dirt from the box that begins to move. Suddenly, a woman's hand comes from the dirt, and she's still alive.
Dr. Clemens takes her upstairs and tries to help the woman with a blood transfusion. As the crew begins to freak out over a woman being on board, the captain agrees to let her stay as long as it's Dr. Clemens sharing his rations, and they don't stop the ship. Otherwise, they lose the extra pay.
Dr. Clemens and one of the crewmen, Olgarin, are on deck, watching the ship and the wheel. Olgarin goes off to the other end of the ship, looking through his telescope, when he sees a creature's face pop up in front of the scope.
Dr. Clemens, while at the wheel, doesn't see Olgarin anymore and begins to call for him using the knocking method that Toby had taught him. Olgarin still doesn't respond, but then reappears and asks Clemens if he saw the creature and warns him about it.
Toby's dog below deck senses something and begins to check it out. The dog begins barking profusely as a creature attacks him. The chef on board discovers the dog's body and sees that it has been mutilated, along with the rest of the animals on board.
Poor animals.
Yeah, they don't deserve it.
Nope. The crew makes theories about what could have done this, even considering rabies. Olgarin believes that no man could possibly do something so vile. Only a powerful evil. The next morning, all of the animals are thrown overboard, but when it comes to Toby's dog, Clemens sees that Toby is upset and goes after him.
Toby confesses that he's upset because his grandfather made it his job to take care of the animals and failed. Clemens comforts Toby, saying that he can't control everything. The captain makes note about the food rations dwindling and the woman's condition remaining the same despite the blood transfusions.
Toby has been watching the woman and tells Clemens that he discovered the woman's name, Anna, that she hasn't been having good dreams, and that she's been saying the word feed in her native language. The chef is concerned that all of the rats are gone and tells Clemens that a ship with no rats is unnatural.
Another watch night, and 2 men are on deck. One man wanders around the deck and discovers a hole that has been ripped into the floor coming from the storage space below. As he investigates, he finds a creature hiding under the stairs. It then attacks him, rips into his neck, and kills him. Clemens discovers the dead man's knife and rings the bell, alerting the rest of the crew.
The crew gather on the deck to discuss what could have happened, as the woman wakes and tells the crew in a panic that they need to leave the ship. Clemens tries to help the woman back in her quarters and asks what she was trying to tell the crew. She tells Clemens that he is on board and that he has been there the whole time. She then tells him about how her village lived in fear of a creature that lived in a castle. The village called the creature Dracula.
Dracula.
And made a deal with him to protect the village. She reveals bite marks all over her body and says that he brought her to feed on her. But now that she's out of the box, he's going to kill them all.
Another watch is happening as the creature stalks through the ship, attempting to escape the lower deck. One crew member hears the knocking on deck and meets with Olgarin, who is also on watch. The creature jumps one of the crewmen, smashing his face repeatedly into the deck, killing him. As Olgarin sees this, he tries to escape by climbing the ropes of the ship, only for the creature to follow him up. Stupid.
Real stupid.
Don't go up.
Don't do that. The ship is getting knocked wildly as the rest of the crew comes up to rebalance the wheel. They try to look for the other members of the crew, but it is raining. As they continue their search, Toby is standing on deck as Clement notices red dripping onto the boy's shirt when he looks up and notices Olgarin's body hanging from the rigging.
The crew takes his body down, realizing he's still alive but in a state of shock. The captain says that the only port to stop at next is the one in England, and that the crew should just hold on. Clemens examines Olgarin and says that he's been bitten and is unresponsive. The men decide that there is clearly something on board attacking everyone and decide to search the entire ship.
During the search, the captain tells Toby to stay inside his cabin and polish his spyglass. The captain tells Toby to lock the door behind him. While the men search the ship, Olgarin begins convulsing and awakens in a strange state. Toby hears something outside the door and leaves to check it out.
Dumb. Your
Don't.
grandpa just told you to stay.
Seriously. He notices Olgarin and believes he might be doing better, but looks up and finds that his eyes are completely white.
Toby freaks out and runs back to the captain's quarters with Olgarin chasing him. Toby makes it back and locks the door, but hears Olgarin's heavy breathing on the other side. When Toby thinks it's safe, he listens at the door, when suddenly Olgarin begins to use his own face as a battering ram to break down the door.
The crew from the deck are continuing their search when they hear the knocking coming from below. They realize Toby might be in danger and rush down. Toby goes to hide, taking a cross from his neck and holding it in his hand. Olgarin suddenly stops trying to open the door, as the crew finally makes it down to the captain's quarters.
The crew sees Olgarin just standing in front of the door with a giant hole in it, and begins attacking the men instead. They are able to restrain Olgarin as the captain tries to open the door reaching through the hole to unlock it from the other side. Toby is still hiding, but spots the creature in the corner on the other side of the room. The captain and Clemens are still trying to get into the room when they see the creature in there with Toby as well. The creature goes after Toby, biting him. When Anna arrives, she takes the gun and shoots the door open. When they all rush inside, they discovers Toby's body on the ground.
Toby didn't die, but Clemens attempts blood transfusions. The crew ties Olgarin to one of the masts on the ship, and he says he can feel and hear everything. Suddenly, he begins to complain of a burning sensation. When the sun rises over the horizon, the rays hit Olgarin as he bursts into flames. Screaming in pain, the captain's second, Volchek, shoots him and puts him out of his misery.
The crew is panicked and wonder what the hell is happening, and believe the same thing may happen to Toby. Clemens goes to check the boxes with Anna. During this, another crewman is on deck when he is knocked out by the chef. The chef ties off the wheel and begins to escape using the lifeboat.
Anna and Clemens begin to open the crates only to discover dirt until they reach a box with different symbols and special locks. When they get the box open, they discover more dirt and a cane, revealing where the monster has been sleeping. The chef believes he is escaping, but hears something coming after him. When the crew discover the extra boat is gone, they see it drifting back to the ship with no one on it.
Toby has died, and during the day they plan to release the boy to sea. Right before they send him off, the captain believes he sees Toby move and stops them from dropping his body. The captain rips open the bag when the boy's eyes fling open. Toby catches fire, grabbing the captain and burning him. The crew thinks fast, pulling the captain from Toby and pushing him into the sea.
That's such a sad-ass scene.
It is sad. It's like his grandpa's like, oh, but I see him.
He's so hopeful, but
He's so hopeful.
It's also one of those things
and then
where
he gets
like,
burned, literally.
It's like, man, you should have just left him as like his what he looks like when it's the last
in
thing
your
you
head,
saw.
Yeah.
Clemens is now determined to kill the creature. Only a day from London, with what is left of the crew, they meet to discuss how to kill the beast and realize that he was rationing his food. Anna comes up with a plan to sink the ship with the creature on it. Volchek is reluctant since the ship is basically his home. Clemens tries to convince him that the home is people, not wood and nails. Wojciech says that if anyone should sink it, it should be him.
The captain is seen, clearly in an emotional state, and burned to hell. Clemens comes down to tell the captain about the plan to abandon ship. The captain holds a gun and reveals that the creature has been talking to him, saying that he can bring Toby back. The captain points the gun at Clemens, but is stopped by Anna, who convinces him that the creature is a liar and only evil. The captain then hands the gun to Anna.
Spoiler warning. Skip ahead. Later that night, the crew gets ready for their plan as the creature finally appears and is flying through the fog. The rope pulls one of the crew members off of the ship and is killed in midair. Wojciech prepares for the next attack and climbs down the ropes, but is knocked off by the creature who flies at him. Wojciech falls through the floor and breaks one of his legs. The last thing he is able to do is take an axe and smash a hole into the side of the ship before he's attacked and killed by the creature.
The captain is at the helm of the ship and ties himself to the wheel as the monster bites into his neck. Clemens makes it back to the wheel and sees the captain has been tied up completely. Clemens unties him and in his dying moment tells him to let them know he was true the whole time.
Clemens yells out to the creature, and as it appears, it flies at him, but before he can attack, Anna shoots him. The creature then focuses on Anna, wrapping itself around her when Clemens attacks the creature. Before the creature can turn and bite Clemens, Anna releases a part of the ship where it comes down and impales the creature. Anna and Clemens jump ship and into the sea, where they use a part of the broken ship as a raft to hold on to.
The ship then crashes into the beach, but the creature unfortunately escapes. As the sun is about to rise, Clemens and Anna are almost ashore when they realize that Anna is going to face the same fate as Toby and Olgarin. In her dying moments, she says this is what she chooses. She climbs and sits on the raft and burns away.
Now in the city of London, we see Clemens in a bar looking for an abbey. In the same bar, Clemens is drawing Anna and hears the boat knock behind him. Clemens looks over his shoulder to see the same cane that was in the box, realizing the creature has made it on land. The creature leaves as Clemens follows, swearing that he will find and kill the creature. The end.
Woo! Yeah.
So this is the newest ish one that has come out recently,
Yeah.
which is August 11th, 2023, last month.
Yeah, it came out
Last
pretty
month.
recently.
The director was Andre Ovridal.
Overdal? I don't know.
Ovridal.
We'll never know. Andre.
You know?
Andre Overdal. Yeah, so it was released this year.
Obviously distributed by Universal Pictures.
Yeah, Dracula is their monster.
And Dracula is where they got it from.
Mm-hmm.
You got their budgets and whatnot.
Yeah, I do. So the budget for this film was $45 million. That's a big old budget.
That's
it was
a
a
lot.
very beautiful.
It was beautiful.
It was really pretty.
Wait till you find out, because it's fascinating.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
Okay. In the box office, they made $72 million. This is a pretty long movie. It's a couple hours. Like
Yeah,
it literally is
it's
like
literally
almost exactly 2 hours.
Yeah. They're like literally like 2 minutes off
Yeah.
of being 2 hours long.
It's got a 49% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
I'm not completely surprised.
But also, I think it's a little soon.
That's true. Like
When we're
the official like
Like
what it's really gonna be probably isn't.
It's going to take a
set
little
yet.
time.
Yeah. So I'd give it like maybe half a year and then you're gonna get what it's really gonna be.
Because that's closer to when we originally... This is the review... This is the amount that it was when it was closer to when it freshly came out.
Yeah. We're filming this.
Like a week after it came out.
Yeah.
So
So
it's a little close. But
Yeah.
it, you know.
our main actors, we've got Javier Botet as this says Conde Dracula.
Yeah. Dracula or Nosferatu.
Mm-hmm.
Which is honestly, visually throughout the film, he looks more Nosferatu than he does what you would
Yes.
consider Dracula.
Yes, for
which is
sure.
understandable.
Yeah, I get why they did that.
Yeah.
We've got Corey Hawkins as Dr. Clemens.
Yeah.
We have Aisling, Franciosi, Fran.
You know what?
We'll never know.
We're never gonna practice these.
Who is Anna? We have Liam Cunningham. I love him. He's in Game of Thrones. I love him so much. He's Captain Elliot. And Woody Norman is Toby. I figured those were like the most main
I only
ones.
have the other two, which is
Oh,
David.
yeah, his second.
Yeah, David Dast Malchian.
Yeah, but wasn't he
Ooh.
also in Boogeyman?
Yes, he
was Lester.
He was Lester in Boogeyman,
Shout
but
out
he's
if you
Wojciech
listened.
in this one.
Yeah.
And then we've got Stefan
Oh, as Olgarin.
Capici, which is Olgarin.
Yes, those make sense, yes.
They feel like they're the most crucial to the film.
Yes, I'm going to agree with that. So obviously, the film is adapted from a specific part in Bram Stoker's...
Literally a single chapter.
Just a single chapter.
Literally a single chapter.
That's why it's loosely adapted from Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's the 7th chapter where the Demeter ship runs on the beach.
They find it
after
on
a
the
terrible
beach.
storm.
Yeah, and then the only thing that they were able to recover is the book, the captain's log, and in the captain's log there's only snippets of information. The fact that they were able to build an entire film off of the bare bones of information that they had from the book
Props.
is amazing. And honestly, this is what I was kind of... I've been explaining it to other people in my life that... So, obviously, this is a great combination with our first film that we did, which was Dracula. Bram Stoker's Dracula specifically.
So, that's why there's probably not going to be a whole lot of information here, but...
Because most of the Dracula side of the lore is in that one.
So, go
But-
listen to that and then come back.
Exactly. But it's one of those situations where it's like the film to book was so... It's the closest thing to the book, but they are so different.
They're still so different. I
And-
want them to make an actual book.
Honestly, I would love to see the Dracula film remade, but like this, with more of what would be like the book.
Right.
Because I feel like this film is more like the book.
Correct.
More like what if we had all the information from the voyage in the book, this is what it would be.
I agree.
Because like I said, it's a difference between the film being a raunchy supernatural thriller versus the book
Like
being
a heartbreaking...
supernatural drama.
Yeah.
This feels like a supernatural drama that is you feel like there's actual emotional connection to the characters,
Yeah.
and that they actually kind of give a shit about each other
Yeah.
and all of that
Even
kind of
though
stuff.
they don't really know, like, they
Exactly.
haven't been with each other for very long, they still want to take care of each other.
Exactly. And there's
help each
like
other out.
at the end with Anna, it's
Right.
it's heartbreaking.
It is.
And
I think that's definitely what they wanted to do.
Exactly. And I feel like in a way this feels truer to how the book would have been.
Right.
And I feel like if they did a similar kind of thing with the book, and really did a modern Dracula that was actually like the book, and it was a similar situation like this, they would go beautifully together.
Yeah. I think they would. I think if they just use this as like an add-on,
Exactly.
like a little prequel before we show you what we're actually going to do.
Because this is just one aspect.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, if you listened to our first one, you know that there is no character named Dr. Clemens.
No. Unfortunately not.
He is not involved in the actual story.
No, and that's how you know it's so sad, because he never is going to defeat Dracula.
Nope. I mean, he does get defeated, but he does not get defeated by him.
No, correct. So,
Yeah. So, obviously,
yeah.
you know, it's crazy that this was only based on one freaking chapter. Like just a single chapter with a single shred of a little bit of information.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is because this is a Universal Pictures, obviously, shout out to Universal. We fucking love you.
Yes.
This is a way that they're trying to reinvigorate their monster slate.
Yeah.
They're creating more of their monster films, but more modern. Obviously, this is a very different take on the legend of the vampire.
I like it.
Because, like, Renfield was good, but it's a comedy.
That. Yeah.
It's a funny one. It's a good film, but it's funny, and it's not Dracula in the way that I would think about it. It's very comedy. I mean, for God's sake, it's Nick Cage playing Dracula. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But this film is more of straightforward in regards to a Dracula
So
film.
how did they do Dracula? Obviously, I'm going to guess mostly CGI, because...
Actually, yeah, they did. No, that... whew. They had some stuff, obviously, but, like, a lot of it was practical.
Okay.
It's very different because the original film, when they were referring to Dracula and all those, like, shapes and stuff, they, like, for the most part, had to do practical.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, they were able to play with CGI a lot more. It was a lot of practical effects plus a lot of VFX effects that they were using for the film.
I mean, because obviously they used an actual person as
Yes.
Dracula.
Yes.
Javier.
And it was basically, so, okay, kind of as a statement about the VFX towards it, it was always meant to be kind of like a demon at the end of the film because of the more terrifying version of Dracula. And that it's described in the script. It's supposed to be evolving. Like, slowly throughout the film, the creature is evolving and changing into the final version that we see. So it starts as in the shadows. Obviously, you have to keep him in the shadows.
Yeah.
But as you bring him more and more out, the creature is able to have more of the humanoid, and then it becomes more bat towards the end, where it's that more demonic feel to it. The special effects designers really wanted to make sure that it came across as that the creature was evolving throughout the film.
I didn't get that.
Like, visually.
I didn't see that.
Like, it kind of started off as you only see it in shadows.
Well, yeah.
And then slowly you started to see more of it, like...
But I didn't see it as really humanoid.
And that's the point. It's not necessarily supposed to be humanoid. Humanoid is in, like, the bipedal version of it. Humanoid is...
We never saw it really stand and walk away, except when he was, like, in the room with...
Yeah. And that's as close to humanoid as it got. But
yeah.
Even then, it's... Their version of Dracula in this film is supposed to be fragile, desperate, and dangerous. It's basically a blood-sucking creature that is more animalistic and feral because of the fact that it's
what it seemed like.
On a ship being carted away to another location.
So, like, what's really interesting to me, like, obviously, Anna was saying that her whole village, like, made a deal with this thing.
Yes.
But, like, you only see it as, like, monster version. Like, how could this thing make a deal with anybody?
Yeah.
So that part was a little...
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Here's the other part about this film. Is that this film is not for people who have never seen Dracula or never read Dracula.
Fair enough.
The monster in this film is not meant to be a mystery. You know it's Dracula. It's the last voyage of the Demeter. Like, there's no mystery to it. He's Dracula, end of story. You know who he is. You know what he's about. You know that he can be a human being, and you know that he can be monsters.
Yeah.
I think that because, like she said in the film, that that the reason why he's going to London is because there's no more people at home for him to feed on.
Yeah.
It has to do with the fact that, yes, clearly, like in the Dracula film, he can be 100% human without question.
Yeah.
And I think that on land, when he was living in his home location, he was able to be human and make any deal he needed to make. But he became that more animalistic monster because he was on the sea and didn't have an easy source of food.
That's fair.
So she was his easy source of food without having to go very far.
But then they got rid of her, so
she got saved, and so he went after the animals and the rats.
He had to become more animalistic.
He became more and more hungry.
Yeah.
And that's why also...
That's why he just became more brutal and more brutal.
Because even when you look at the bite marks that are on her
they
versus...
look more human.
They do, and that's because slowly over the course, he's becoming more and more feral because of the fact that he doesn't have access to food.
Yeah.
And so because of that, that's why it's like giant ripping gouges. And why when the first crew member dies, it's more of like the monster, Dracula flings himself at him and then like catches him with his claws and rips open his throat instead of biting him, and then it evolves into that.
Yeah. He's pretty creepy. The way he whispers at people, no thank you.
The way he spoke,
no.
I'm not cool with that. Yeah, when Clemens is like, I am not afraid of you.
Yeah.
Oof. That's so not cool.
Ooh, no. No. Like, I can't just imagine him like going to England or like London and like looking the way he did when he was looking at oh my god, what's her name? Mina?
Yes.
Like, he was suave. Yeah. I can't imagine him going from this to like Mr. Suave guy.
The suave ass dude.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, also, and here's the thing. That is not in the book.
Right.
So the version in the book, so you would never
I know
even
that's from
meet
the movie.
Dracula.
Yeah.
Which is wild. In the book,
what?
You wouldn't even, at this point, in that point, you wouldn't even meet him. He's like not till the end of the book. So
that's crazy.
It's one of those things where it's like Dracula truly is a monster.
They really made it a romance, raunchy romance.
They really did.
But that's
fine. It's unfortunate, but
that's okay. Lots of people love it, so
I like this one because it feels like it truly more represents the book. And I feel like that's what a lot of people are wanting, is a film that represents what it would feel like in the film.
Yeah,
in the book.
I agree with that. Which brings me to a point.
Yeah.
When Bram Stoker was writing this book and like getting his inspiration from it, he vacationed at Whitby, which is a northeast town in England.
Oh, cool.
He stayed there for about a month, but he loved it there. There was like really big mansions and hotels that were like on the seaside and on the cliffs, and there were like remains of 7th century Whitby Abbey, which were over some cliffs.
Yeah.
There was also a cemetery there, which also served as inspiration. But like the whole town itself was just very inspiring to him. And so Bram Stoker would go to the Whitby Museum, and he would explore the ship's history that were all in the harbor. And apparently he found information about one of the shipwrecks, which was called Demeter. Which was a ship that had wrecked 5 years before he'd gotten there.
Oh, okay.
It was a cargo vessel, which was going from Narva in Russia, which is Estonia today, but that was in 1885. The Demeter is one of 2 ships that were run ashore by a storm of great violence. So the other vessel, the Mary and Agnes, was stranded on the sea, and a lifeboat was sent out to rescue it. Okay, so the crew stayed on that ship, hoping that they would be able to dock, but apparently the mast gave way and they fell over, and then the vessel began to like break apart.
Gotcha.
That was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But at the end, for Demeter, all of the crew members were saved and brought to shore. So the Demeter originated in Varna, so that's an anagram for Narva in Russia, again Estonia. But apparently the Demeter was it carried sand as its cargo. It says a great number of wooden boxes filled with mold.
Oof.
Yeah, just that's it. Like that's yeah. So Whitby, Yorkshire, the ship Demeter ran aground and was wrecked in Collier's Hope. So I found a thing that said the Demeter is named after the Greek goddess.
Yeah.
I thought this was pretty cool. It said the ship's name is appropriate. Like, how is the ship's name appropriate for the plot? And it says that Demeter oversees life and death. The ship symbolically and literally brings death to England. But I think the wordplay here, like, Demeter oversees.
Oh.
Oversees.
Yeah.
Life and death. So, literally brings death to England. So, yeah. Basically, just Stoker drew his inspiration from this little town he stayed at. And he wrote a really dark and creepy novel.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That's pretty much all I had, though. Like, there wasn't a whole lot. I think I read something about, I don't know if this is true, but I think I read something about a little boy being, like, stranded. And there was a bunch of people who tried to, like, go save him.
Oh, shit.
But, like, every person who tried to save him died.
That's wild.
On the way there. I don't know
where
that came from or why I didn't put it in here, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something I read. I was like, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. But on Demeter, everybody lived. It crashed and it was very unfortunate. And it just had a lot of dirt on it.
That's crazy.
So
that's wild.
Yeah.
Well, kind of getting back into the prosthetic stuff.
Yes.
Okay. So it's a big mix of prosthetic and actually just the acting of the performer.
Okay.
So Javier Botet.
Mm-hmm.
Botet.
No, I'm just kidding. I think it's Botet.
I don't fucking know. Botet. You called him Botet earlier.
Botet. Who knows?
He's underneath all of the makeup.
That's crazy.
Even the director calls his performance amazing, basically saying that he gives so much life to the character on set.
No, he does.
Saying that he was actually excited to play Dracula. He said it's lots of hours of makeup, but it's amazing how it looks, and it honestly was a beautiful piece.
Do you have a picture?
Kind of. Gordon Lunstorm created creature effects supervisor and lead makeup artist for the feature, explains the use of the prosthetics and says, every millimeter of his head is covered, and then we overlapped it like a puzzle.
What?
Yeah, they made it so it was kind of like puzzle-like, so that it all looked smooth.
That's pretty cool.
And then the overall look is menacing and unlike any previous iteration of that character, because they're really like, even the one that we have from the original film it's similar, but it's not. This one feels more visceral to it. And it says, Javier was like, sometimes it's hard for me to stay in makeup for 5 hours before starting, the hunt for people. Mm-hmm. But he said it was really worth it. And that the combination of makeup and his performance had an effect on his fellow actors. Corey Hawkins summed it up, and he was like, it's just so good, the way he moves, the way he turns his neck. It was frightening.
Oh.
So yeah.
This is why, like, okay, sometimes
amazing.
I think I would love to do horror theater, but at the same time, I'm like, would it genuinely freak me out all the time?
I don't know. It might actually remove some of the fear from you.
I mean, because all these actors, you hear like, oh my God, the prosthetic was so scary that the actors are genuinely freaked out.
Well, that just means that you've got good people that you're working with.
That's true.
If the actors outside of the set can feel scared by the things that are there, it means that the shit's good.
Fair enough.
I mean, when they were talking about the actors themselves, they really were embracing their characters, and were able to portray the moments emotionally and portray the relationships in ways that you can't possibly imagine, especially two particular actors or even a group of actors. They're standing there and just like really connecting, and it's kind of beautiful. It was basically one of the joys of him when they were filming, just watching it happen, there being that emotional connection, and that because it's not part of what he can control. He can't control that emotional connection, but it happens anyway. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of the magic of the performance of the actors. And the fact that the ship ended up becoming a piece of the action. Like the ship itself was one of the actors.
Wow.
As well. Because
I love that.
Kind of the idea that it's
I mean,
its
it
own
is. It
living
has its own
thing,
name. It's got its own story. Like,
exactly.
This is what the whole movie's about. The last voyage of the Demeter.
Yeah.
So.
And it's like, so here's a really cool thing about the film. Mm-hmm. They built the whole ship.
Oh my God.
They built the ship as one big piece.
No wonder
And they had
the budget
them
was 45
living
million.
on it. Like, they literally, one big piece, and we could live on it. So the actors could get used to it.
Wow.
It's not like broken into pieces. It's a full set, and that was what was very important to them.
I love that.
And even though there is like augmentation later on in the production process, Guillermo del Toro is one of the inspirations that he had because of this. Especially because of his show that he made, The
Cabinet of Curiosities.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the reason why he had the ship and why they built the ship as one massive piece, because you could also have the creature physically there and have the creature on set.
Yeah.
And
oh my God, I would have loved if they were living there and then the guy would just get into costume and like freak him out.
Yeah. And I mean, they wanted a reality around the camera.
Yeah.
But of course, obviously, when you're in a tank and your world is actually out at sea in the middle of the night,
right,
you do need to replace things, obviously. You have to add a little bit of editing, so the blending is huge, and that's a big job. But the production designer, Edward Thomas, decided to build the exterior ship in a tank in Malta, while interior sets were built on moving platforms in Berlin. Safety obviously was a top priority, but they created a 100-ton ship. It is 100 tons.
She's thick.
Hell yeah. And they basically made sure, like, Thomas ensured that the ship design would look authentic and real. They actually used traditional methods, and they worked with nautical engineers and maritime experts. The goal was to make sure that the ship didn't let the movie down. Like, because it's the full back piece, it's what you see throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
It has to feel real. And that it had to meet the high quality of the acting, costumes, makeup, and the special effects.
Yeah.
To create something to that scale, it was 214 feet long.
Wow.
35 feet wide, and weighed over 100 tons. Like, you have to really know what you're doing.
I wonder what they
in terms
did
of
with
safety.
it afterward.
Honestly, I'm not sure. Sometimes those things go into like museum-y styles, like
that'd be really cool,
or whatnot. But yeah, it's
I'm sure, like,
pretty
okay,
freaking cool.
If they have like a little museum thing for the Dracula movie, they should give it.
Oh yeah, they would probably,
if they can find a place for it.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's like one of those, it sits out on the water kind of thing.
People can go into it and explore it. Oh my God, I would, a little museum.
So cool.
Stop.
Be so cool.
That would be amazing.
But yeah.
Yeah, there's really not a lot on here since, you know, we did do most of it in Dracula.
Of the Dracula lore itself. And again, this is a movie made from scraps of nothing.
So they didn't do too bad.
There is nothing you can look up for this
not really
boat,
no,
because what there is all they had to work off of, and we've covered it a little bit. We covered it in the Dracula one because there's not that much.
So that's why the only thing I could really talk about was like where Bram Stoker got his inspiration for putting the Demeter in here at all.
And again,
the fact that it's just one
beautiful
small chapter.
It's a beautiful film.
There are plot holes, in my personal opinion.
Okay, what kind of plot holes bothered you?
Okay, well, it's in my 1-star review, and I think I kind of agree with one of them.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Okay, so...
Are we starting 1 stars, or are you doing your personal thing?
This can go into it.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so... Okay, it says, just set the ship on fire at sunrise and row away on a lifeboat, which makes so much sense.
That's a fact.
Why didn't they just do that? Like, why didn't they just clearly people are dying. It's dangerous. This woman has just told you that her whole village was murdered. Like, you're gonna get away. It is just a small crew and Dracula. You're trapped here. Set the boat on fire at sunrise and leave.
I think part of the problem is like, honestly, that would be great, but we also forget they don't know that we know that he flies.
But at sunrise?
Facts.
He can't fly at sunrise.
Okay, here's another problem that I've
after you find
saw
out
from the film.
After you find out that what's his name, Olgarin can burst into flames at the slight touch of sun.
But to begin with, why the fuck was it every time at night that they decided to go out? For shit?
Like, I don't understand. Like,
yes, no matter what
they're going at sunrise.
No matter what they're going to have nighttime they have to do watches on the boat.
Yeah.
That's fine, whatever. But why the fuck is it every single time it's the middle of the night that you go searching for shit? Like the only time they did it during the day is when they found the fucking box.
Right. Like, what else are you doing during the day? Like, be so for real. You're out at sea. Other than manning the
once
fucking...
Olgarin bursts into flame, you set that bitch on fire.
You're gone. I'm out. Bye. The boat came back to you. You know what that's a sign of? Leave on the boat.
Leave on it.
Anyway, yeah.
Because he's asleep and he can't get out. Because if he gets out, guess what's going to happen? He's going to set on fire anyway.
That part. So, yeah, I did agree with that 1-star review.
Gotcha.
There was another one. I thought this was just funny. It says, my dog startled me better than this movie did.
Oh, shit.
Your dog must be frightening. Because there were some pretty gory scenes in here that were really startling.
Yes.
And
I don't care. The creature makeup and the creature performer are
good.
amazing.
It's really good. Mm-hmm. Another one is, how can you make a horror film when you know the ending?
It's called a prequel.
That's
you
what they
understand that
said.
there are
I'm
people
like...
who make films and then make prequels for the film that show you the origin of shit, and you're just over here like,
I think for
how can you do that?
Yeah, I think for them it was more like, but you changed the ending anyway, because they kind of did.
They kind of did,
because nobody was supposed to survive at all.
Well, here's the thing. No one was proven to have survived.
Oh, that's true. They didn't.
That's the point.
Yeah, because Dr. Clemens got away, but they don't know that.
They don't know that
he's alive.
That's the point.
Fair
but
enough.
We also know that he definitely is not involved.
Yeah,
so,
like he's not involved in the killing of Dracula, actually.
Exactly, and he's not even in the book at all. So obviously he's doubly not involved.
Right. So
which is weird.
It is a little strange
that they would decide to make
just
this character that's like, you know, I feel like it probably would have been better had they not been like, and now I'm gonna go kill this motherfucking thing.
Yeah.
Like, instead, maybe don't do that and just be like, I lived through this harrowing experience and it still haunts me to this day.
What pissed me off
would have been better
was there were some comments in there that was like, it's just another movie trying to push their woke agenda by having a black man on a boat with a bunch of like English people. And I was like, what?
Start this? Can we not
do that? Like, he did fantastic.
He was
Please.
great.
Like,
he was so good.
I was rooting for him the whole time.
The actors all did beautifully.
Yeah, they did.
They really did.
So shut up, please. Nobody wants to hear it.
I don't need your
like
woke
nobody
shit.
was talking about woke shit until you brought it up. I mean, obviously there's the
that.
scene in that movie where he's like, I'm a black man who got my education, so you're not going to tell me that I'm not going to do my job because I worked hard for this degree.
Which is, you want to know what? That's not woke. That's been in existence since that time.
Exactly. And if he worked hard, let him do his shit. Like,
that's not woke. That's just living in existence. And anyway, the word woke got changed.
So stupid.
The definition of the word woke got changed. It was originally a word used by black people about being aware of the problems in the world,
of the prejudice,
a bunch of fucking white supremacist crazy people all were like, we're going to change the word to woke to meaning everything that's bad and the exact opposite of what the original meaning of the word was.
I know. It's like, why would you do that?
Because now it's a tainted word.
It is. I'm just like,
and anytime I hear it, it just irritates me.
Yeah. So that's what irritated me the most when I was looking through my 1-star reviews. I didn't add any of that because I was like,
yeah, it doesn't add anything to the conversation.
It doesn't. It's like, what? I literally like just scrolled past it, but it stuck in my brain because it just pissed me off so bad.
Yeah.
I was like, why is that what you were focusing on the whole movie? Like, that was the only thing they said in their review.
Another racist who walked into a film and saw a black person on screen.
Who didn't die immediately in a horror film?
Who's the one person who survived?
Oh my God, it's almost like that's changing stereotypes.
Yeah. Because obviously there's always been this shitty stereotype of the black person being one of the few people who always dies in a horror film. Well, you want to know what? It's okay if they survive too, guys.
It's even better sometimes, maybe. You know, changing it up a little.
Not following the stereotypes.
Yeah, that's my little rant for that. Yeah. But good movie, good actors.
Yeah.
Maybe not my favorite. But
no, I wouldn't put it as my favorite.
Obviously,
but it wasn't
some plot holes.
A bad film.
But it wasn't a bad film. It was really beautiful. The cinematography was really pretty.
Beautiful film. The music and cinematography, like the sound design and all that kind of stuff, was absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not, like I said, it is a supernatural drama.
Yes.
You cannot go into it thinking of it as like your classic supernatural, spooky, scary
Yeah,
film
no.
horror. Like, no, it is, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Halloween Horror Nights. It reminds me of the house from last year.
Winter's Wake?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It feels like that. It feels
It does.
haunting.
It does. It feels
and
haunting.
beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Haunting and beautiful. Because not everything has to be scary.
No.
Like, yes, obviously Dracula is a very dangerous creature, and yes,
He
there
didn't-
was death and
It didn't
stuff.
scare me. It was just very gory. And it made me
Yes.
be like, ooh.
It was gory and it was like emotional.
Yeah.
Because the loss is the upsetting part.
Mm-hmm. And you're really rooting for everyone to make it.
Yeah, you really are. And God, when it's Toby, it's heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking.
When that whole scene, when they just like see it and the desperation that they're trying to get in. Thank God to Anna. Thank God to Anna for picking up that gun and just shooting the fucking lock off.
Yeah.
I don't know why none of
I don't
them
know why
thought
nobody
about
did
that
that
first.
to begin with. Which is another plot hole, please. Like,
Yeah.
nobody thought
Why
about
is the
that.
one woman on board smart enough to think to grab the gun and shoot
That
the
was
lock
another
off?
thing somebody said. They were like, oh my God, one woman who has to be stronger than the guys. And I was like, are you kidding?
Yeah, because women can be stronger than men. End of story.
Yeah.
There doesn't need to be any fill-in for that
I mean,
one.
clearly her whole village just died and she was still alive in a box. I think she is stronger than every single person on that boat.
Exactly. Like, it's wild. It's wild.
Anyway, yeah, go give it a watch
Yeah, this will definitely be one of our shorter episodes that we've done.
for sure.
Just because of the nature that most of the information that we've done is in a previous episode.
Our very
first film that we did. So if you're wanting any more information about that, go for it. But yeah, so our next episode is actually going to be the first part of our HHN.
Woo woo woo!
It's going to basically be just us talking about, we haven't gone to the event yet. We're just going to talk about like, here are the houses. Here's what we think. Which one are we going to like the most? You know, what food or drink are we looking forward to? And then, yeah, we'll have a second part that's a post right after we go to the event. So look forward to those back-to-back chit-chats.
So exciting!
Yeah.
I can't believe it's
So close.
so
It's
close.
here.
We've
It's
been
like
waiting
here.
like for a whole year.
It's like, this is it. It's
Yeah.
like in like a week.
Woo! Yep.
So
Yep,
obviously,
yep.
leave us a review, you know, follow us, all that kind of stuff. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Horror Unmasked. Listen to us on Spotify and iTunes at Horror Unmasked Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Horror Unmasked Podcast. And I think with that,
There's only one thing left to say. Will you fear?
or will you fear not?